it looks much better. Things look much better. Yes, my lighting is a bit lacking. That I must acknowledge in some form or shape. Let me see if I do this. There's improvement to it. Is there? No, that won't really work out for us. But anyways, we'll do with what we have for now. But I don't know, something is lacking with my lighting. But we'll do with that for now. For now, let's get this in and set, and we'll get this conversation going or ongoing. Okay. I need to confirm something. Okay. Now waiting on you guys to join the broadcast, and we'll get into the thick of the conversation, really. And we'll get into the thick of the conversation tonight in regards to transfers, the deadline day of transfers for at least the first deadline day for the transfers of this week, because a lot is happening, a lot has been happening, a lot has been said, and I think we should get into the bit of conversation for it. So it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I hope Austin can rejoin us. I'm just testing out our audience to make sure everything is in check. Everything is in check. Yes. Yeah. I think we're good to go on our audio front. Oh, I forgot to do this. Usually, I ought to mute some of my devices to avoid any potential interruptions whatsoever. Okay. Let me start on that one. But yeah, we are back. Good to be back. Hope you guys had a wonderful day, a wonderful Tuesday. It's been quite a bit of a long day down in Kampala, but I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're all right. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing all right. Just waiting on you guys to join the broadcast so that we can get into the thick of tonight's conversation that will revolve around transfers. Waiting on you to hear from you. Hi, Alicia Adventures. How are you doing? Good to have you on the broadcast. It's a pleasure to have you. Where are you joining us from, Alicia? Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect, coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Just let me know where you're joining us from this evening and how you're doing in the comment section down there, but also like the broadcast. Let's have an interaction before we get into the thick of tonight's conversation that I will lead, depending, and we'll see where it leads us. But plenty of things have been happening on the initial sort of deadline day, as it's been dubbed. Although there will be more of that to come and things in that breadth. But let me first hear from you guys where you're joining us from. Do for me, about 3 things. Like the broadcast, 2. Let me know where you're joining us from. Down in the comment section. And if you're new here, kindly consider subscribing to the channel. But it's a pleasure to have you guys. I hope our friend Safa Ali will make time to join us. I hope Pressing Kosi will make time for us. I hope Peter Parker can join us. I hope Osin DJ can return to the scene, and we have an engagement. I hope what's his name, Ahmad Septa from Indonesia. I hope you can join us. Explorer, I hope you can join us. MNZ Gamer, is it MXZ Gamer? You know yourself. I hope you can return to the channel and we engage. But it's a pleasure to be back. Hope you've had a wonderful day. Like I said, it's been a bit of a long one for me, really. But we move on regardless. We move on. We ought to get the work done in as far as things are happening. But at least as the day broke, we did get confirmation regarding Martin Zubimendi's deal with the potential move to Arsenal. We had some bit of confirmation, and that sort of quashes certain rumors that have been, to say the least, are leaving Arsenal fans a bit worried, a bit concerned, and rightfully so, because you never know what could happen. Anything can happen when it comes to the transfer window. Anything is possible. We've seen twists and turns. We've seen players going back on their word. Catanelli. Hi, Catanelli. How are you doing? Welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Thanks for joining us. Do let me know where you're joining us from this evening. Sorry, it's Catanil. Sorry, apologies for the mispronunciation of your name. Catanil. You're good. Good to know that. Good. Where are you joining us from? Do let me know down in the comment section. I'm interested in knowing where you are joining us from, really, before I start tonight's broadcast with the expansive, talks of what I do expect us to discuss in tonight's broadcast, because it's going to be plenty. Guys, like the broadcast, but anyways, let's get into the conversation and kick things off where we ought to kick them from, because a lot has been going on today, really, in as far as our transfers are concerned. Like I said, at the daybreak, we did have confirmation from the usual suspect in David Ornstein, confirming that Arsenal do consider Martin Zubimendi a done deal, and they do expect. Is that Nicola Tesla? Yo, Nicola, you're not here for the first time. You've been here before. Yo, bro, just want to say all the best. Thank you so much, Tesla. Thank you so much, Nicole Tesla. Good to have you. Remind me, where are you joining us from, if you do not mind? You can only just say the country, if possible, the city as well. But I'm coming to you live from Kampala, depending on what suits you, or for as long as you do not jeopardize your security in the process. Anything will work for us already. But like I was saying, we woke up to that news. David Ornstein confirming that that deal, Arsenal consider it as good as done. Only that Real Sociedad did, request that the deal not be sort of completed until July, when they kick off their new financial year. That bit there, and he went on to clarify that while Real Madrid are admirers of the 26-year-old Spanish midfielder, they've not really made any moves for him, or they've not made any attempts to sign him in that expansive. Oh, Nicola, I was asking where you're joining us from. What country are you in? I was asking you to let us know either the country and city, or just the country where you're joining us from. But also, kindly help me click the like button on the broadcast. You're from India. Oh, good to know. India is one of those countries that have been really, really kind to me on this journey. Thank you so much for the love, India. Team India, Pakistan, people from Bangladesh and Indonesia, within that bracket of regions. Thank you so much. And people from the UK, people like Boss Royal, people like Safa Ali from Turkey. It's been a pleasure. So anyways, now down to the conversation really. But thank you, Team India. So David Ornstein said Arsenal regard Martin Zubimendi move from Real Sociedad as done and signed. 26-year-old Spanish midfielder expected to report at the start of preseason with Arsenal. Real Madrid sources say Real Madrid never actively pursued the situation. So that's what we had at the daybreak, that confirmation to sort of settle the nerves of Arsenal fans, to sort of settle their worries and concerns that they've had over the last couple of days, ever since Martin Zubimendi went out to make and did that interview with, I think, Radio Nacional in Spain, prior to the semi-finals of the UEFA Nations League. I think they were bound to play France at the time. when he made those comments and when he spoke about his future in abstract, he sort of he didn't say things specifically, but at least he did clarify that he had not done any medical at Arsenal. That at the time when that news broke, he had been on a beach actually chilling out, and then he said he goes to speak to the rumor mongering of social media and how fake news tends to travel fast. And then he spoke about his admiration of Xabi Alonso, having been his manager at Real Sociedad B. For those of you that do remember, that's where Xabi Alonso was in 2018 until 2022 before he made the switch to Bayer Leverkusen. So he spoke to that and his admiration. He didn't want to speak about any hypotheticals when asked if Real Madrid had, if Xabi Alonso had called him to go and play for him at Real Madrid. So, and that kind of thing, really. So when he spoke about that, sort of his move to Arsenal was cast in doubt in one way. And then the reports linking him with a move to Real Madrid were never going away, right from Spain across, the European media, football media scene. They continue to rage on. I mean, you sort of had to feel not to feel for him, but you sort of had this thing where Arsenal fans were justified, even though some of what he said was a bit lost in translation when it came, because he had, I think, the interview in Spanish and then it had been translated to English. So many things were alluded or lost in translation in regards to that particular interview. But again, like I'll keep saying this, that until you see a player holding that chart up of your club, you can never say the move is completely done. However, we do understand that there have been some agreements that have been signed that bind the three parties involved in this deal. That's Arsenal, Real Sociedad, and Martin Zubimendi, that bind them together. That any move out, sort of part or choosing to depart away from those agreements could call for legal action, and I'm sure no party would want to go that way. And then the factor of of Mikel Arteta is one of those that may have gone sort of unnoticed in a way, while he has a relationship with Xabi Alonso as a person he does admire, as a player he did admire, but also a person that coached him at Real Sociedad B before he made the switch to the senior team. That notwithstanding, the relationship that he seems to be having with Mikel Arteta at the communication level, I think gives Arsenal the confidence that they do not need to, press any panic buttons in regards to this particular deal, and it's just what it is. So, anyways, that's I think the deal in regards to Martin Zubimendi. By the way, still continuing with the reports on Martin Zubimendi, the reason as why people consider it a done deal is because of Arsenal agreed to pay in the excess of the player's release clause. Now, his release clause was believed to be about 60 million euros. Arsenal agreed to pay up to 65 million euros. That gives them an extra about 4 million pounds to Real Sociedad. Why? Because Arsenal do not want to pay the whole release clause in one installment. So they want to spread the payments over a period of time, or in different installments. So because they wanted to achieve that, they negotiated that they pay a little extra for the player. While 4 million pounds is quite high in regards to, having to do that, I think they sort of weighed the pros and cons of having to, pay full amount as opposed to the installments, which then leaves them with a lot of, room for them to go and do other business. We all know they want a striker. We all know they want a right winger. We all know they want a left winger. So they need to invest in those areas. They need a second choice goalkeeper, even though they've been linked with a move to Kepa Arrizabalaga, who could only cost them about 5 million pounds. Again, that deal is not yet done, but at least it's well advanced we are waiting for the final touches of it. Mario Momoto is back with us tonight. He says, hello, any good news from Liverpool? We're going to tackle Liverpool in a bit. There should be some good news in the coming days really for Liverpool. But so, and this is according to the Athletic. They do say that Arsenal will pay a total of 65 million euros. That's 55 million pounds for Martin Zubimendi, more than his release clause, which is in the region of 60 million euros, in brackets 51 million pounds, after agreeing with Real Sociedad to pay his transfer in installments. Coming to this agreement, after months of negotiations, enables Arsenal to avoid paying the release clause in one lump sum. That's according to James McNicholas of the Athletic. So that's the situation regarding to Martin Zubimendi with his pending move to Arsenal. Arsenal fans, I hope this settles your minds about the midfielder, although it does not, although I know it doesn't take away your frustrations for what you regard to have to be slow a transfer business. But for those of you that were part of, I think, our broadcast last night, was it last night or this morning? This morning, in fact, we spoke extensively about Arsenal fans' frustration and that kind of thing. And I did explain these kinds of things in instances where you have, clubs or even Arsenal themselves, it could be their own making that they want to make certain business, maybe in a particular financial year, to record that as business done in a different financial year and close their books on a certain note when it comes to this financial year. So that's why we've had these reports, especially, when you have PSR rules to bear in mind, when you have UEFA financial fair play rules to consider in whatever you do, so, and that kind of thing. So there you have it in regards to Arsenal and Martin Zubimendi. So really, that should really settle your hearts, Arsenal fans. Anyways, in regards to Liverpool, just to respond to Maria Momoto, I hope she's behind the listening in, but also kindly like the broadcast if you're still with us. So the ongoing, sort of anticipation of Florian Wirtz has, of course, transfer deals are not as easy to pull off as most fans think, because a lot of negotiation goes on. And while we do not appreciate it in the same way, I mean, we must acknowledge that it takes some time, that it takes more time than we desire. And I do not know if you've noticed, but news surrounding the transfer of Florian Wirtz in the last 2 days, I think, has sort of cooled down. We no longer been having those daily updates. But I also did mention that while Liverpool are being intentional on sealing the deal early, so that there are no late time, pushers to come in and try and, cast things in the balance, you get the feeling that it will get done. Yes, Liverpool's last offer in the region of 113 million pounds was rebuffed by Bayer Leverkusen. It is expected that they went back with, a different offer. Now, I think, yes, whereas there could be maybe a sticking point, because Bayer Leverkusen want the total package, 150 million euros. Now, Liverpool do not want to pay that much because they also have their own valuation of a player. As good as a player he is, as young as he is, only 22 years of age, you do have to bear that in mind. Now, as you bear that in mind, ought to remember that because of those negotiations, both clubs are not in a rush, especially Bayer Leverkusen, because I did explain to you that in the ideal scenario, they would prefer to retain the player for a further year, to play for them at least for an extra season. But now that the player has expressed interest to leave, he has not demanded that you should leave, but he has expressed interest to leave and has chosen Liverpool over other suitors that, like, Bayern Munich and then previously Man City, who walked away from the deals, deeming it too expensive. They're not really, desperate or eager to get this deal over the line. It's not like we're in the last 2 days of the transfer window. I mean, we are just been in the first days of the early transfer window that was opened for June the 1st until June the 10th to allow clubs that are going to be participating in the FIFA Club World Cup to sign and register players. Prince Nkosi says, good evening, my brother. Good evening, you, sir. Good to have you back on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but it's a pleasure to have you back. Prince Nkosi, do let me know if you have any matters you wish us to discuss or any updates that you wish to offer us on your end, so that we will get into that part of the conversation as well. So when you look at that deal, while both clubs want to do the deal, I think there's not really a pressing time on the side of Bayer Leverkusen, like I've explained. So, and then Liverpool themselves, it's not like they're going to play in the FIFA Club World Cup. They're not in that competition. So their urges is about sealing the deal so that no other suitors come let in and sort of make the deal, because we all know that's possible. It's happened so many times. We just spoke about that deal of Franco Mastantuano was potentially destined to move to PSG, but then because River Plate had, I think, asked PSG that the player stays with them until the end of the FIFA Club World Cup, then that in itself became a window of opportunity for Real Madrid to swoop in. And we all know Real Madrid is oftentimes arguably one of the dream teams that kids want to play for. You get. So in the end, kid changed his mind. He's only 17 years of age. You can only blame him so much if the opportunity is there to join Real Madrid at that kind of age, and you go and join the likes of Endrick and Adagura in that team. Whether you'll find playing time, that remains to be seen, is another whole different story. But at least that's how Real Madrid stole what would be regarded as PSG's potential signing. So Liverpool would want to avoid that, and that's why they were quick to make their bids. Their first bid was rejected, second bid was rejected, and now they're going over certain details in regards to that third bid. Some reports say it's been improved up to 118 million pounds. But like I said, Bayer Leverkusen want up to 126 million pounds, which is 150 million euros. That means there's a certain fee that is guaranteed, which they are yet to agree on in itself, and then what comes in add-ons and what form of add-ons are they? Because usually add-ons are based on certain achievements, either by a team as a whole or by a player. I'll give you an example. When Manchester United were signing, Anthony Martial, I think from Monaco, they had this sort of clause in the contract that if the player hits maybe 25 goals in this kind of space of time, you pay us an extra amount of money in this. I think it was about 8 million pounds. So it could be some of those things that if Liverpool, let's say, win the Premier League title next season, then they ought to pay Bayer Leverkusen maybe 10 million euros or maybe 8 million euros. That's in add-ons in terms of achievements. If they go win the UEFA Champions League, maybe they pay another 5. Or if the player scores 10, 20 goals in his debut season, those kinds of things are usually in players' contracts. And then sometimes there's also a potential future sell-on clause. For example, the deal, it's been reported that the deal that has taken Ryan Cherki from Olympique Lyon to Manchester City has a 15% sell-on clause. Now, that if Manchester City, after maybe 1 season, after 2 seasons, after 4 years, decide to sell Ryan Cherki, maybe to another club for whatever amount of money, the parent club in itself, as Olympique Lyon, get a percentage out of that sale to the tune of 15%. Man City themselves had a sell-on clause on Liam Delap when he went to Ipswich Town, and now he's joined Chelsea for 30 million pounds. So they're going to receive a cut out of that, So, and those kinds of things. So, to answer to you, Mariam, that's what usually makes these deals longer. Jack Grealish rumors to Newcastle or Everton. We're going to discuss Jack Grealish next in a bit. So that's what is taking long in regards, or is delaying this kind of deal for Florian Wirtz. But the clubs, I think, eventually will agree. I think it will be just a matter of time before the two parties do agree on a fee for Florian Wirtz to make his switch to Liverpool. he's been, because Liverpool have sort of is their primary target. Remember, initially on their list they had Brian Checky, and they had scheduled a meeting with Brian Checky, and indeed Anasrot had to, take a day off from his personal holiday to go and meet Brian Checky in France, and he did that. Now, at that meeting, it is expected or reported that he sort of, they had a discussion and told him, look, for now, maybe our priority is Florian Wirtz, but Man City were also already into the conversation, deep into the conversation for Ryan Checky. So, I mean, no pun intended, but it is what it is. So, Liverpool fans, you're going to have a little bit more patience with that Wirtz deal. But what you could get easily in the coming days could be signing Milos Kakes, because the meetings have happened between Bournemouth and Liverpool over Milos Kakes. And there's a very good chance that agreements can be reached for the transfer of the left back in the coming week. Yes. Now, in the coming week, remember, the transfer window is closing tonight, or has closed tonight, and it will reopen next week on Monday at the 16th. So, but nonetheless, teams will continue to agree on business. So, Milos Kakes could be next. First, he could arrive at Anfield before Florian Wirtz. So that's the update from Liverpool. Then the other, maybe to summarize it for Liverpool, they did rebuff interest from Barcelona for Luis Diaz. They said no, they are not interested in selling the 28-year-old Colombian international, even though he did admit while on international duty that they've been speaking to some clubs given his contract situation, because the club has not talked to him about any offers in regards to extending his contract, but he still has 2 years to his contract. He did say he's happy at Liverpool. He has been well received. He's happy there. If the club chooses to extend his contract, well and good. If he has to see it out by playing his time, then he will do that. But also, there's interest in Luis Diaz from Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, who think they can tempt Liverpool with an 85 million euro bid for the Colombian international. But that bid is yet to come through the doors. So let's keep our eyes on that. Then Liverpool are open to letting go of players like Darwin Núñez, Diego Jota, among those that they're open to letting go. Then Bayern Munich are interested in Cody Gakpo, although Bayern Munich have now expressed bigger interest in Bradley Barcola from PSG and Nico Williams as their top preferred left wingers. So it could be that Cody Gakpo, same as Rafael Leao and Kaoru Mitoma, fall down the pecking order in regards to that interest. So there it is. And then Harvey Elliott did say that he could be, he's really, really thinking about his future with his representatives, that he wouldn't want to waste his time. He mentioned something to do with wasting his time. He's 22, and he did say that next season he will be 23. So this is the time. He also mentioned something to do with the career in itself being short, that he ought to make the right decisions at the right moment. And I think for me that speaks to the fact that there's a lot of interest in him from teams like Nottingham Forest, from teams like Leeds. Of course, at some point, Bayer Leverkusen wanted to introduce him in the conversation over the discussions for Florian Wirtz as a part of the package in a swap deal plus cash for Liverpool to sign, Florian Wirtz. Then Jarell Quash was the other player being discussed potentially, but it has been now in recent reports been confirmed that Harvey Elliott is off the table in that breadth. So, but he could be one of those players to watch that could potentially leave Liverpool. So let's leave matters of Liverpool at that. Anyway, maybe before we leave Liverpool, of course, you've already sold off Kelleher, that's the goalkeeper, to Brentford for £18 million, because Brentford lost Mark Flecken, who went to Bayer Leverkusen in a deal in the north of 10 million euros. And then Liverpool had already signed Mama Dashfield, that's the goalkeeper from Valencia, although he had stayed with Valencia on loan, but that they did sign him last summer, so he comes in as number 2 to Alson Ramses Becker. So that's the gist of the news in regards to Liverpool. Moving on to Jack Grealish. Now, Jack Grealish is one of those players that has attracted a lot of interest from so many Premier League clubs, because Manchester City did confirm that he is not to be part of their squad that will be featuring at the FIFA Club World Cup that is going to be played starting on the 15th of June across 11 different cities in the United States of America. Now, with that said, the 29-year-old has attracted interest from the likes of Everton, from the likes of Newcastle, from the likes of Tottenham Hotspurs, among his suitors. West Ham have been mentioned in that conversation, but in respect to West Ham, it has been more or less a recommendation that he could thrive at West Ham, given the kind of manager that they do have in Graham Potter and that kind of thing. But he still has 2 years left to his contract at Manchester City, and that means that if he is to leave Man City, depending on where the destination is, Man City could command quite some fee, at least north of £30 million, especially bearing in mind that they paid £100 million for him to join from Aston Villa. Now, Jack Grealish is, I don't know, he's sort of struggled for the last 2 seasons. Ever since Manchester City won the treble, that was in 2022-2023, for which he had been an integral part, winning the UEFA Champions League, the Premier League title, as well as the FA Cup, for which he had been quite integral. The 2 subsequent seasons after that, he sort of struggled, both on and off the pitch. When you look at his Premier League appearances in particular, 2023-2024, he made only 10 starts, not total appearances, but at least he only started 10 games in as far as the Premier League is concerned. Last season, he only had 7 Premier League starts. So that tells you how far down he's fallen in the hierarchy of Pep Guardiola's mind. And while all these teams are interested in signing him, his wages could be a sticking point, because it is reported that his own wages in the region of about of £300,000 per week, which could be quite expensive for teams like Everton, for teams like West Ham, for teams like Tottenham. Tottenham wouldn't pay him that. Maybe even paying him just half that could be sort of quite the negotiation really. And then Newcastle, I do not think Newcastle can pay him that high, even though they are capable. I think because they wouldn't want to upset some of their players, like Alexander Isak, who is reported to be in the region of £200,000 to £250,000 per week. And yet, we know he's their primary striker. And then these other players, the likes of Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes, some of those, players that form the spine of Newcastle. You do not want to bring in a Jack Grealish and suddenly they're hearing he's on top dollar in regards to his wages. So his wages could be a sticking point. But the recommendation has been that maybe, or at least the suggestion or the match possibility is that he could leave Manchester City at least on a season-long loan and then move elsewhere, which could be sort of a tempting offer, really, because if he does go out on loan and suddenly plays well, of course, we all know his ambitions is to get back into the England squad in preparation for the FIFA World Cup 2026 that is going to be played in the United States of America as well, alongside Canada and Mexico. Canada, 2 cities where it will be played. That's at Vancouver and Toronto, while Mexico will have 3 cities. That's Mexico City. The other is Guadalajara, and then the other is I forget the other city, but at least there are 3 cities, and Mexico City. Yes. So it's Mexico City, Guadalajara, and I'm forgetting the third city in regards to Mexico cities that will be hosting the World Cup, but there will be 3. And then, of course, in the United States, it will be in Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Los Angeles in California, and so many others, at least up to 11 cities there in the US. So Jack Grealish wants to be part of Thomas Tuchel's, a squad for the World Cup. That means he needs to get consistent playing time, and he cannot find that if he stays at Manchester City, even if he decided to do so. So he needs to go to a team that is willing to offer him consistent game playing time. And Tottenham I think, is a very, very tempting offer. They do have Champions League football. Same goes for Newcastle. Very, very tempting offer. I think if it came down to, to let's say 4 options, Everton, Tottenham, Newcastle, and West Ham, I think he would fancy a move to either Newcastle or Tottenham Hotspurs. However, the thing with Newcastle is that they do have an Anthony Gordon. If you want to play in that role, they do have Jacob Murphy, who did quite tremendously well last season. When you look at his numbers in Jacob Murphy, when you look at the numbers he was able to post, he did really, really well for Newcastle last season. He really, really did well. So he could sort of struggle, maybe to get a starting position in Newcastle, because he had a goal contribution of 20 in 35 appearances. He had 8 goals and 12 assists. And yes, he's 30 years of age, but Jack Grealish is 29 and equally soon turns 30. So again, there's no guarantee that he would start any games. But because Newcastle are going to be in the UEFA Champions League, that means there's plenty of games to play. So still, the chances of you getting playing time and at the topmost scene sort of is quite promising. And then maybe at Tottenham, you're going to have a new manager who is expected to be Thomas Frank. By the way, Prince Nkosi, I do not know if you have any views or opinions in regards to Thomas Frank going to Tottenham Hotspurs, but at least I would be interested in hearing what your view is about that news. So I think Jack Grealish would suit any of those teams, regardless of where he does land, but he is a player to watch. He will definitely be leaving Manchester City during the course of this transfer window. Maria Momoto says, thank you as well. Thank you for being part of this podcast. It's always a pleasure having you. Excuse me. So, in that same breath, let's move straight to Tottenham Hotspurs, who have already agreed to terms with. They have already agreed terms with Thomas Frank for him to join them as their new manager. Of course, they are yet to reach a final agreement with Brentford, from what I do gather, but that shouldn't also be too far from happening, because it's Thomas Frank that they do want for their Ange Postecoglou replacement. And while that is the case, people will have their concerns, especially when it comes to his lack of experience in European football. But he is a tremendous manager, really. The 51-year Danish gentleman, or gaffer, is a very good coach, very dynamic, not a stickler to a certain playing style like Ange Postecoglou has been accused of over his 2 seasons at Tottenham Hotspurs. So, but Tottenham now have to agree to pay his exit clause, which is in the region of £10 million. That's that's a high figure. I mean, for a manager, that's a high figure, really. But they'll have to pay it for him to leave Brentford, where he has been where he's been head coach or manager since October 16th October 2018, because he joined Brentford in December 2016 as an assistant coach to Dean Smith. For those of you that do remember Dean Smith, who was previously at Aston Villa, so he was with him at Brentford as an assistant coach. So when Dean Smith left Brentford, he was elevated to the role of a head coach. That's Thomas Frank, and that was around the 16th of October 2018. And for the last 6 years and 8 months, he's been, the manager, guiding them to promotion to the Premier League. That was in 2021, and they've been up there for the last 4 years. So, I mean, he's a very, very decent manager. So Tottenham will have to pay Brentford £10 million as the exit clause. They've already agreed to personal terms between the club and the manager. He does want to make the move. They've had discussions over his backroom staff. We all know that managers do come with, their backroom staff, usually over at least 3 to 5 members, to join the rest of the permanent staff. Usually clubs have permanent staff in regards to these first teams, like team doctors, physios, maybe analysts and things of that nature. Yes, managers that are incoming can request for more staff depending on what their requirements are, but they do come with a certain cohort of maybe the first 2-3 assistants. Really, that's usually the practice. Our pressing coach says, yeah, I think Tottenham Hotspur's new coach, that's a good signing for them. Maybe Jack Grealish should join Hotspurs as well. So yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if he indeed does join them. But according to TalkSport, Tottenham are really, really, really interested in his services. So Thomas Frank is sort of a here we go, for lack of a better word, in regards to a move to from Brentford to Tottenham. Now, Brentford are considering going for Kian McKenna of Ipswich Town as a replacement for Thomas Frank. Now, Kian McKenna is a very interesting character because he's one of those managers that has been formally put under consideration by teams like Manchester United. Last summer, before they chose to retain Erik ten Hag, he's been under consideration with Chelsea before they chose Enzo Maresca. So there's a lot of confidence in his abilities. There's a lot of likability in the way his team play, and maybe what he's been able to achieve with Ipswich. Never mind that they got relegated back to the Championship last season, and he is still with them, really. But he is their number one target. That's Brentford as a replacement for Thomas Frank. So there could be a chain of events there that goes ahead amongst those clubs. So anyways, let's move away from Tottenham Hotspurs. But before we move away, there are reports that Tottenham, if Thomas Frank does join them, they could return to the scene to try and sign Bryan Mbeumo. Remember, they were already interested in signing Bryan Mbeumo alongside Newcastle, alongside Arsenal, but the player says he prefers a move to Manchester United. Now, while he prefers a move to Manchester United, it does not take away other suitors per se, because if, let's say, his manager makes the switch to Tottenham before Man United reach an agreement to sign him from Brentford, what's not to say that he goes back to Brentford and says, Bryan Mbeumo, I've made you a better player. Come play for me at Tottenham Hotspurs. I mean, we're talking about a player who had a 27-goal contribution last season, 7 assists and 20 goals. So, and yet Tottenham would use a bit more goal scorers, aside from, Son Heung-min, who is, by the way, a target for Saudi Pro Leagues, 32 years of age, I think. Then you do have Dominic Solanke. Sometimes he does struggle a bit. Yes, he's a good player, but he does struggle a bit. Latest on Man United signings, yes, we're headed to that direction. Now that we're speaking about Bryan Mbeumo. So, because of Bryan Mbeumo, because of Thomas Frank's pending move to Tottenham Hotspurs, it sort of it brings, a new conversation to the Bryan Mbeumo signing or pursuit by Manchester United. If Thomas Frank does cross the aisle from Brentford, from the Gittens Stadium to the London Stadium, to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So let's wait and see. So speaking of Manchester United, they are interested, of course, in signing Bryan Mbeumo. They had their first bid of up to £55 million turned down. 45 of that was the guaranteed fees, with £10 million expected in add-ons. That offer was turned down by Brentford, arguing that they do value the player in the same breath as much as Matthias Cunha, who cost £62.5 million for Manchester United to sign from Wolverhampton Wanderers. They had to activate that release clause, which they will have to pay in 3 installments. And so, because Brentford have seen Manchester United make that deal, and they know Manchester United is a big club that has the financial resources, or at least, never mind that Sir Jim Ratcliffe did say that they were about to run broke. But at least they know they can afford those kinds of fees. And then, so they turned down the first bid. It is also reported that the player would want a major revamp or hike in his wages. For example, it's reported that he's been on about £45,000 per week at Brentford, but he wants to demand up to in the excess of 230 or 250,000 pounds per week. Is he worth it? Well, if you're going to Manchester United and you've had that sort of record in the Premier League the previous season, and where you're going to Manchester United, there are players like Jordan Sancho who are earning 300,000 quid, a week. Why not demand for those wages? In any case, according to TalkSport, United would have no problem paying those kinds of wages if the player does agree to join them. And looks like personal terms may not be an issue. What's an issue is the argument between the two clubs over the transfer fee. They do value the player in the region of 70 million pounds, although that's negotiable. And you can see they want to, start from 70 million pounds and then move downwards to the region of about 60, 65 million pounds. Thereabout. So what the guaranteed fees will be and the expected add-ons remains to be seen, but it is reported that United did go back with the second bid in the excess of 60 million pounds. We are yet to hear on any feedback whatsoever in respect to that bid. So that's regarding Manchester United. Manchester United have also made inquiries on the side of Victor Gyökeres. Now, it is reported that the manager in Ruben Amorim has remained in touch with Victor Gyökeres, and it is also reported that he would be open to joining Manchester United, even though they are without Champions League football. Now, for some people, this may come as a surprise that why would big players in the realm of Brian Mbeumo, in the realm of Victor Gyökeres, want to join Manchester United when they do not have European football, and yet oftentimes we're being told that all players want to go to teams that have UEFA Champions League football and that kind of thing. Well, Manchester United is a big club. You see, when a lion becomes malnourished, when it grows thin, it can never grow thin to the size of a cat. So that's how I can explain it to you. That while Manchester United are not in UEFA Champions League, are not anywhere in Europe next season, they are still a giant team. They are still a very big team with fans across the world. One of the biggest clubs there is in world football. I mean, that's not up for debate. So even though they are out of those competitions, they want to fight their way back. And maybe these players do believe that they can be part of that revolutionary side that brings United back to the glory days, that brings back Manchester United to the UEFA Champions League, that gets Manchester United competitive again, maybe not winning major trophies just yet, but at least very, very competitive, and then going on to pick up on domestic cups, like the FA, like the Carabao Cup, like they've done over the years ever since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, and that kind of thing. Maybe another Europa League trophy, despite the fact that they've lost their last two finals in 2021 and in 2025 to Villarreal and to Tottenham Hotspur, respectively. So it goes without saying that regardless, that even without UEFA Champions League football, even without Europa League football and things of that nature, Manchester United do remain a very big team that does command a lot of respect, that are capable of attracting any player that they would wish to sign. And let's not be surprised that players are making such decisions. So, because of Ruben Amorim, I think Manchester United really, really have a very, very good chance of signing Victor Gyökeres should they decide to throw their hat in the ring as one is going around. Because you're talking about a manager who signed Victor Gyökeres from Coventry City, where he had spent 2 seasons. Now, he spent there, I think, the 2022 season, 2022-2023, and then 2021-2022. Now, for 2020 and 2021, he had been on loan to Swansea. He spent there half the season, went to Coventry, I think because at Swansea he didn't score a goal. Maybe, I think he scored 1 goal. Then at Coventry, he scored, I think, 3 goals during his loan spell for first half of the season. Then, the second half of the season of 2020-2021. And then they signed him permanently. So in the first season, that was 2022-2023, he scored, 2021-2022, he scored 18 goals in the championship. And then the subsequent season, he scored, I think, 23 goals. That is 2022, 2023. And that's when Sporting Lisbon identified him as a very good player and they signed him under Ruben Amorim. And then he went on to, post all these numbers for the 2023-2024 season and now the 2024-2025 seasons, where he's really, really posted tremendous numbers that are not really up for debate, that they do speak for themselves. They speak of a player that is well within his prime and that kind of thing. So that's why he's attracted a lot of interest, although and there's not a single club that has made a bid for him just yet. And then still speaking, Victor Gyökeres, there have been some reports emanating from from Portugal that maybe Victor Gyökeres could be furious with his club, Sporting Lisbon, because apparently they had a gentleman's agreement that his release clause that was initially about 100 million euros be slashed down to 70 million euros, and should suitors do come, then that should be the fee that he costs to leave the club. And apparently the club has been telling potential suitors that it would take in the excess of probably 80 plus million euros, which has sort of rubbed the player the wrong way to a certain level of anguish or rage. But I mean, those are all rumors. But let's wait and see. But Victor Gyökeres to Manchester United is one to watch. Saudi Pro League clubs have made inquiries about him, but I think he does prefer to stay in Europe, pretty much like Benjamin Sesko. He's attracted a lot of interest from the likes of Al Hilal, Al Nassr, but he's choosing to stay in Europe. So Chelsea have made inquiries about him. Arsenal made their inquiries last month in regards to Victor Gyökeres about potential situation of the deal. But like we've widely reported on this channel, Arsenal's priority for striker remains Benjamin Sesko, the 22-year-old Slovenian international at RB Leipzig. Those negotiations are equally still ongoing between RB Leipzig and Arsenal over a potential deal. But as regards to Man United are concerned, those are their primary targets at the moment. I think the other player that has been linked with the potential move to Manchester United is the Aston Villa goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez. Now, Emiliano Martinez did appear to say goodbye to the Aston Villa fans in their final game of the season at home. He was in tears. Of course, the very last game of the season was at Old Trafford, but their final home game, I think the one that came 2-1, he did appear to say goodbye to the fans and to be in tears. So he's been subject to transfer speculation, including linking him with the potential move to Man United. Maybe that's another deal to watch. Then Man United are looking to move on players like Jadon Sancho, Antony, who, according to reports, Bayer Leverkusen are now interested, but that's because of their new manager, who is Erik ten Hag. Real Betis would want to retain the player. Let's wait and see. But Marcus Rashford is the other player that they do want to move on, valued at £40 million. Aston Villa would have loved to retain him, but they need to sort their finances when it comes to being in good books with the profit and sustainability rules. So maybe affording a player like Marcus Rashford in the excess of in the region of £40 million could be a deal too expensive for them at the moment. Remember, they missed out on a UEFA Champions League qualification, which meant that they will be playing in the UEFA Europa League, and that means a lot less revenue as compared to being in the UEFA Champions League. So that really hurt them. So then it means that they need to sell some of their players to sort of bring some cash in if they are to do some good business. And one of their prized possessions, that's Morgan Rogers. Yes, Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey. Forgive me, I tend to confuse the two, but he's a prime target for many clubs. You know, it's Jacob Ramsey. Yes, it's Jacob Ramsey who has had no. In fact, it should be Morgan Rogers really. 22 years of age, who scored I think 8 goals, 8 goals, and provided um, about 10 assists because he had an 18-goal involvement in 37 games. Yes, Morgan Rogers. They did sign him, I think, sometime in 2020, in February 2024. I think. No, February 2023. Yes, from Middlesbrough. That's where they signed him from. I deal believed to be anywhere between 8 to 15 million pounds. Of course, the fee there speculated to be in between there. And he, in 37 appearances, 8 goals and 10 assists, he did post really, really good numbers for a 22-year-old England international. That's Morgan Rogers. And he's valued at a fee believed to be in the region of 70 to 90 million pounds. So they could choose to sell him if they are to finance deals that bring in other players. And then, of course, the other is Emi Martinez, the goalkeeper, and they had considered signing Joan Garcia, but looks Joan Garcia to Barcelona is as good as a done deal as we speak, because Barcelona did agree to pay his 25 million euro release clause to take him from Espanyol. So that's the situation. Anyways, that's Manchester United for you. But Alejandro Garnacho is the other potential departure. We all know that he's been told to, find a new club. Johnny Evans has retired from football after leaving the club. Christian Eriksen is as good as gone. They are willing to listen to offers for Casemiro. Then Luke Shaw will be out of the club and that kind of thing. So, and then Rasmus Højlund has interest from Italy, particularly Inter Milan, and the likes of Napoli and Juventus have also made inquiries, as well as Joshua Zirkzee, who had a slow start, to say the least, in his Premier League career, managing to score only 3 goals in the Premier League last season, while Rasmus Højlund scored only 4 goals, giving the two Manchester United strikers a tally of 7 Premier League goals, which is far from a beautiful, beautiful performance. Anyways, I will leave that discussion at that, but those are the potential incomings and outgoings as far as Manchester United is concerned. That was to respond to Prince Nkosi. Where do we go next? Then Claudio Ranieri did turn down a proposal to take over the role at the Italian national team, and it did say something like, it's a great honor for me to receive that proposal, but I decided to continue with my role at AC Roma as part of the management. Claudio Ranieri is going to be part of the management at AC Roma, where he was head coach last season and guided them to a 5th place finish. Remember, they have recruited Gianpiero Gasperini as their new manager in the aftermath that the Gasperini left Atlanta after a period of 9 years at the club. So that's that. Anyways, let's go through some of, then let's go to Chelsea. Let's pick Chelsea because Chelsea have sort of had quite the day. Some breaking news here for us is Florian Wirtz to Liverpool. Here we go. Finally, it has come from Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool have verbally agreed a deal in principle with Bayer Leverkusen for a package reaching 150 million euros, add-ons included. Player side already agreed 2 weeks ago with the move now imminent. Wirtz set for a medical and contract signing. So there you have it in regards to Florian Wirtz with a move to Liverpool. So Liverpool fans, be excited. That deal is on. It's just been broken by none other than Fabrizio Romano. I think if you need any secondary source to confirm that, you can check out from Florian Plettenberg of Sky Germany. He is really, really a very, very good reporter when it comes to transfers in Germany. Yeah, so he equally confirms just as much that he just put locked in. It's a done deal, locked in. So, anyways, yeah, that's the breaking news. But let's speak Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have spent the entire day trying to sign Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund. They were unable to seal that deal, even with their latest or very late, last bid, because they had the first bid turned down. That was in the region of 35 million euros plus some add-ons. They turned that down, and then they went back in with a bid of about 55 million euros. And Borussia Dortmund still turned that down. They want to demand for more because they want about 60 to 65 million euros to let the 20-year-old England international leave BVB, who are, by the way, going to be part of the FIFA Club World Cup. Chelsea had wanted to sign him to be part of their squad for the FIFA Club World Cup because they do need a player in that right-wing role. Anyways, or a left-footed winger, if I may define it that way. So those talks will continue, maybe during or after the FIFA Club World Cup. So Fabrizio Romano did say that Borussia Dortmund keep rejecting Chelsea bids for Jamie beyond Gittens, but negotiations will continue also beyond the Club World Cup window. Chelsea want Jamie Gittens, and the player wants a move to Chelsea. He has already agreed to a 6-year contract. Is it 6 years? 7-year contract. He has already agreed to a 7-year contract in principle. That would run until June 2032 if he is to join Chelsea. And then the other deal of the day, we did speak about Joan Garcia to Barcelona. That deal is as good as done. And then Kevin De Bruyne is on the verge of joining Napoli. We've previously spoken about Kevin De Bruyne at great length. And then Marcus Bettinelli has joined Manchester City as their third choice goalkeeper. But on the same day, Manchester City also did announce the signing of Ryan Cherki. Was it? Yes, I need to confirm. I need to find that for Manchester City. Yes, because I believe it was confirmed. Yes, it was confirmed earlier on in the day that Ryan Cherki did join Manchester City in a deal worth around 36 million euros in guaranteed fees, with about 6 million euros in expected add-ons. That puts the deal at a total of about 42 million euros in a total package. So let's wait again. There's nothing to wait in that regard. We are also waiting for an announcement in regards to Tidjane Reyenda's from AC Milan to Manchester City, because he did complete his medicals. That one should equally be coming in quite soon. So that means Manchester City have signed 4 players in these 10 days in preparations for the FIFA Club World Cup. Marcus Bettinelli, the goalkeeper, Ryan Artinori, the left back, that's the Algerian international left back from Wolverhampton Wanderers, and then Ryan Cherki from Olympique Lyon, and then Tidjane Reyenders. So 4 players they are signing for Manchester City. Anyways, I don't know. We were speaking about Chelsea, and suddenly he went into Man City. But Chelsea also tried to sign Hugo Ekitike from Chelsea tried to sign Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt today, but they couldn't, agree to a deal on time. And it looks like they'll have to continue. This was according to Florian Wirtz, that a Club World Cup deal for Hugo Ekitike to Chelsea has collapsed. There is still no full agreement and no official offer to Eintracht Frankfurt. Chelsea and Ekitike remain in talks for the summer transfer window, but Liverpool are still in the race. One to watch in the coming weeks. And then also today, we did confirm, we had confirmation of BVB signing Job Bellingham, the brother to Jude Bellingham, who will be donning the shirt number at 20. Sorry, is it 22? I think I saw 22, but whichever it is. But Job Bellingham is a Borussia Dortmund player as we do speak as of now. A deal in the excess of 33 million euros with some add-ons expected in that strength. So now let's see. Florian Plettenberg says Florian Wirtz to Liverpool is considered to be a done deal. New talks today. A full agreement in principle has now been reached with Bayer Leverkusen after Fabrizio Romano. A transfer fee as revealed up to 150 million euros. Add-ons included medical still pending. Most expensive sale in Bundesliga history. Most expensive signing in Liverpool history. Most expensive signing in Premier League history. Quite the statement signed there are from Liverpool. They are being intentional. It was Sir Alex Ferguson who said, when you are at your best, that is when you strengthen. And Liverpool are doing just that. They just won the Premier League title last season. But I think their efforts in the UEFA Champions League told them as much. And now, because Arne Slot won the title with the Jurgen Klopp squad, now he is trying to get in his own signings. And Florian Wirtz is one of those joining Jeremy Frimpong, and Milos Kerkez should be joining really, really soon in that sort of line as others continue to, watch on. I think, and this kind of transfer business is what frustrates Arsenal fans, when they see their opponents are making this happen while they seem to be dilly-dally with their own. Anyways, it is what it is. It is what it is. Then Chelsea also walked away from the table over the potential signing of Mike Maignan. That's Mike Maignan. That's the French goalkeeper at AC Milan. 29-year-old had told the club that he would want to leave, but Chelsea's offer to AC Milan was deemed to be wanting, and so he won't be making the switch. So then, yeah, I think that's the gist of the conversation in regards to transfers. And then Al Hilal, earlier on today, we're in talks to sign N'Golo Kante from Al Ittihad on a short-term loan as per David Ornstein. And then discussions were ongoing to have the 34-year-old French midfielder ready for the Club World Cup, but there was no agreement at the time. Safa Ali, hi bro, I had to go yesterday. I'm sorry I couldn't let you know. It's all right, but it's all right, Safa Ali. It's always a pleasure to have you. Any moment that you do spare for us, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 15 or 20, it's always appreciated. You do not really have to apologize. But thank you so much for your contribution yesterday, and thank you for joining us today. I'm personally good. I hope you are good too as well. And I know it's midnight, so it's really late for you as well. But I do appreciate that you render us a couple of minutes to be with us. So basically, those are some of the done deals. Florian Wirtz to Liverpool is as good as done. That has been just broken seconds ago. Liverpool have agreed to pay the 150 million euro valuation in both guaranteed fees and expected add-ons. For the subject had to do with Arsenal fans, Arsenal's Zubimendi deal, because they consider that as done, to answer you, Safa Ali, and then Chelsea missing out on two players. That's Jamie Gittens and Hugo Ekitike. We've talked about that, but now we've had some breaking news that Liverpool have sealed the move for Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen in a deal worth 150 million euros, the most expensive player in Premier League history, the most expensive signing for Liverpool, and the most expensive sale of a player in the German Bundesliga history. 150 million euros, both in guaranteed fees and add-ons included in that total package for the 22-year-old German international, who last season scored 10 goals and provided 12 assists. There, I think in about 33 German Bundesliga games, or appearances, while this previous season, that was 2023-2024, he did score 11 goals and provide 11 assists. So he's been quite the hot cake earlier on had been linked with the move to Manchester City and Bayer Leverkusen, but Man City pulled out of the race because they deemed the player a little overvalued or too expensive for them, at least. But basically, their citation was that he was being overvalued. Bayern Munich, I do not think Bayern Munich had the cautions to sort of pay up to 150 million euros that Liverpool are paying for that they're paying for Florian Wirtz, but everything is now agreed, and the player will travel to the UK for a medical. So that was after the final talks that they did have today. So that's the latest news from that side. And then Milos Kakes to Liverpool should be happening very soon, because, by the way, Brentford did sign themselves left back who will be a replacement for Milos Kakes. Meanwhile, Bournemouth could lose their second centre back in Zabani, who is of interest to Paris Saint-Germain. So they could lose literally their entire backline in one transfer window. They've already lost Dinhausen. They're on the verge of losing Milos Kakes to Liverpool. They are on the verge of they could lose Zabani, Ilya Zabani to Paris Saint-Germain, although with the Cherries are believed to be demanding a fee in the region of 59 million pounds if the 22-year-old Ukrainian centre-back is to leave them. Also, looks like Andoni Iraola will have quite the rebuild on his hands come next season, because it's not really easy when you lose your entire backline to then sort of rebuild it and get them going. Those are deemed to be way too many changes. But like I said in the morning, Bournemouth are the kind of team who really need the money. In under ideal circumstances, they wouldn't want to sell all these players, but they want to expand their stadium. They have one of the tiniest stadiums in the Premier League. They want to increase on their, match day revenue by expanding their stadium the way Liverpool extended one of their stands and expanded it. Because they have it's about 17,000 or 15,000 seater at the moment. That's the Vitality Stadium. So they want to raise it up to about 22,000 to a 22,000 seater. And to do that, they want to, of course, they will need all the money that they can get from these kinds of player sales. Real Madrid have already taken Dinhausen. By the way, he was unveiled today in a deal worth 50 million pounds because they simply activated his release clause. Then Milos Kakes is of interest to Liverpool. That deal is on. Then, like I've said, Ilya Zabani could join PSG if things go according to plan. Then Anton Semenyo is of interest to Tottenham Hotspurs, although they are valuing him quite expensively because he joined them from Bristol City in a deal that was about 12.5 or 13 million pounds. They're about back in, I think, January 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So really, anyways, that is that in regards to those transfers. And in regards to all the other gossip is Bayer Leverkusen also have, this is according to the Sun, apparently Bayer Leverkusen also have interest in signing Jack Grealish as a replacement for Florian Wirtz, although I do not see that happening. Safari says, I think Manchester United will do good things this year. They could, but let's see all the transfer business they are able to do. Let's see. Apologies on that. I've had an internet disconnection. I think I need to, anyway, there's something I need to clear out. But we are back on temporarily at least. You say, but since there is no Europe, the way for new transfers is closed. And then yes, you are speaking about the broadcast being gone. We are back on. But again, we at least the tail end of this one as well. Like I was saying, yes, they could do well, but if those players do together well, but also their absence in Europe also gives them the opportunity or the chance to concentrate solely on the Premier League, and then of course the cup games that do come in the course of the season, which are usually not so many. For example, when the FA comes around, you play that once in a month. The Club World Cup, unless you go so far up into until the finals, which are played around Feb, but still those are still not too many games. You can handle with the kind of squad that a team like Manchester United has. So really, yeah, they could go on to do really good things because their concentration will all be around the Premier League. So I do agree certainly with you on that front. Anyways, guys, if you're interested in learning some digital skills, like some digital skills like web design, like coding, like cybersecurity, then do not hesitate to check out our friends at Able State, who do offer in-person training sessions as well as online training sessions and career guidance to their trainees, and they do help them in the aftermath of their trainings to find placements in in the dynamic digital space. Safa says, here. Yeah, good to have you back. Apologies for the internet glitch there. It's one. I think I suspected it would come during the course of this broadcast. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, I did suspect it would come, although I had hoped that by the time it does happen, we would have concluded this broadcast. Anyways, let's go through the other transfer gossip before we see out ourselves tonight. Yes, we've spoken about Jack Grealish being linked with the potential move to Bayer Leverkusen as a potential replacement for Florian Wirtz, although I do not know. Anything can happen. I do not really trust the Sun that much. Yes, Swedish striker Victor Gyökeres is furious with the club Sporting having gone back on a gentleman's argument that the 27-year-old could leave this summer for £67 million. By the way, what do you think will happen with Victor Gyökeres in Sporting? Yes, I was just reading about, according to record in Portugal, they do say that Victor Gyökeres is furious with Sporting Lisbon, who are going back on a gentleman's argument that allows him to leave the club for a fee of about £67 million. It is being reported that they are demanding for more amongst his suitors. So whether that is just gossip or it is true, we wait to see. But Man United are interested in signing Victor Gyökeres. I do think if amongst any other clubs that have interest in him, the likes of Juventus who have inquired about him, the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Chelsea, I do think that he has a higher chance of joining Manchester United as opposed to all the others, because when it comes to that pitch, even though all these other clubs may have the promise of Champions League football and that kind of thing, I do get the feeling that if it comes to that, Ruben Amorim could really convince him to join Man United over anybody else. Because, like I said, Man United are still a big club, regardless, even though they are not in, even though they do not have European football like Champions League, Europa League, UEFA Conference League, they are still a very big team that can, win players over. Then Manchester City, we've spoken about Man City. They've already unveiled Rancheki. We've spoken about Arsenal being keen on signing Kepa Arrizabalaga from Chelsea for £5 million. Then Burnley have valued their French centre-back, Maxime Esteve, at £50 million. That's because of the interest from Bayern Munich for the 23-year-old French centre-back. He's already worked with the ex-Khalid's boss, Vision Company. That was during the 2023-2024 Premier League season when they were in the Premier League, and he was their manager. Then now we've spoken about Bayern Munich prioritizing the signing of Bradley Barcola from PSG as their number one priority for a left winger. Although should they not achieve that, they are already speaking to Nico Williams. But like I said, Nico Williams, the release clause is believed to be anywhere around 58 to 60 million euros. That's affordable for most giant clubs that would want to sign him. But his wages are a bit of an issue because he's on high wages, earning around 7 to 8 million euros per season. And Bilbao, by the way, wants to extend his contract and pay him in the excess of 10 million euros and have him and sort of increase his release clause. So there's that as well. So let's keep our eyes on that deal, on those deals as well. But those two players are not the only ones, although they are at the top. They're not the only ones in Bayern Munich's list, because the other two on that list is Kaoru Mitoma as well as Rafa Leao. Of course, even Cody Gakpo was on the same list for potential suitors in regards to a left wing. And then Leroy Sané will be traveling with Bayern Munich, by the way, to the United States of America for the FIFA Club World Cup, even though his future is yet to be decided. Amid this interest from Fenerbahce, by the way, Fenerbahce's Jose Mourinho does hold interest in signing Leroy Sané as a free agent should he decide to leave Bayern Munich. But the player also has suitors in the Premier League, suitors like Tottenham Hotspur, suitors like Arsenal, as well as others from the Saudi Pro League. Then Paris Saint-Germain, like we were talking about, Eli Zabani, then Tottenham Hotspurs have stepped up their interest in Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo, while Manchester United also remain admirers of the Ghanaian forward, only 25 years of age. Then Newcastle are keen on signing a Ghana winger, Muhammad Kudus, at only 24 years of age from West Ham. This one was offered to Chelsea. Chelsea had interest in Muhammad Kudus as well as Arsenal back in the summer of 2023 before he left Ajax for West Ham United. And now apparently he's been offered to Chelsea. And then while in that conversation, Chelsea did inquire about the availability of goalkeeper West Ham did inquire about the availability of goalkeeper Robert Sanchez. Okay. Anyways, of goalkeeper Robert Sanchez, like that. So then the other player that they did inquire about was a centre back, I think. No, was Kenan Drisbury-Hall. So West Ham, while they offered Chelsea an opportunity to sign Muhammad Kudus, they used that opportunity to make inquiries about the availability of Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeper, and Kenan Drisbury-Hall. Now remember, Graham Potter, the manager of West Ham, did work with Robert Sanchez during his time at Brighton before he left to join Chelsea. So then West Ham are considering a swap deal with Chelsea involving Kudus, while the Hammers are prepared to let their centre back Naif Agad, that's the Moroccan international, leave for about £25 million this summer. And then Tottenham are one of the latest clubs to show interest in Red Bull Salzburg's Mali winger Douglas Nene, only 22 years of age. So that's the latest in regards to, some of the transfer gossip out there. Guys, it's been 1 hour and 24 minutes of doing this broadcast. I want to say thank you all that have contributed to tonight's conversation. Thank you so much, Safa Ali. You did join us much later. Thank you so much for your submissions. Thank you so much, Presin Kosi, for being with us tonight. Thank you so much, Maya Momoto. Thank you, Nicola Tesla. Thank you, Kata Neil. You are with us earlier on. It's been a pleasure having you guys on tonight's broadcast. Allow me to wish you a blessed night, and we will meet tomorrow morning for the morning broadcast, hoping to come at least by 9 a.m. We're trying to, bring it much closer to the morning hours. It's been a pleasure. Let's pick up again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.